smart at the rim while also continuing to attack the paint.
Yeah, we have to make smart plays in the paint against this team. They're so long and athletic, and if we go in there and challenge, it's gonna be a block party. So, our ability to get into the paint, play off 2 feet, and then read the defense and play from there. So their length, their athleticism, it poses a lot of problems. And they're coming off a road trip where they really had a chance to win both those games. They went at Maryland and then had the overtime game at Rutgers, and this team has played really good basketball, for a lot of stretches. So length is going to be a big part of this. We have to play with great physicality in this game. If we let them establish the glass early, that's when they're at their best.
With that in mind, you rebounded better in the second half against Indiana. What do you think went into that process?
I thought we did a lot of things better in the second half of that game. Besides our start, I thought our start was great. I thought our urgency early in that game was where it needed to be. That was obviously, as I talked about, a big key in that game in the early start to get off, to get out of the gate fast. And I think we built a 7-point lead in the first half, and give Indiana credit for making a big run, flipping it. They got the momentum going into halftime, going up 9, and then give our guys credit for going out in the second half and figuring it out. And you're down 16 on the road with 16 to play, and you find a way to build a 9-point lead in about 12 minutes is when we flipped that thing. And really started with our defense. I thought our hand activity and the deflections got us out. Price hit a big 3. We got a layup in transition. Then Jamarcus hits the dribble up 3. And those are flow of the game shots. I talked to our guys a lot about shot selection. A lot of times the flow of the game will dictate that. And we watched that clip in film yesterday. If we had missed 4 or 5 in a row, that's not a good shot. But we were rolling at that point. And, the momentum was in our favor and felt like we were playing downhill on the offensive end. So, yeah, absolutely. Jamarcus had it rolling. He was hot. And we'll take that shot. And that was huge. It forced them into a timeout. And then, Braden Frager's offensive rebound to me was as big a play of any in that game, where he just reached over the top, hit a tough contested one in the lane, and then we kind of took control from there. So, again, the poise that our guys played with, not panicking when we got down double digits, taking it one possession at a time, was a huge reason that we did that. But as far as rebounding, Wilson, I think everything that we did in that second half just led to better play across the board. And again, when we have that type of activity defensively, we're a pretty darn good team.
You mentioned that trail 3 from Price. How often do you like guys like him and Marcus trailing the play versus getting out ahead of the play?
Yeah, we that's a great time to hunt our shooters in transition when we get the ball into the paint, and we don't want to go in there and take a contested one or run over somebody and turn the ball over, or you challenge a big and a block shot leads to a transition opportunity going the other way. A lot of times that's a 4 or 5 point swing. So, we talk to our guys a lot, get into the paint, be patient. Those guys are streaking down the backside, and that's where you get shots, not only from Price, but you're big. The bigs are trained to run into the paint, and that's where you can get a trail 3 for a guy like Rank or, BK. I like the way he's shooting the ball right now. He's playing with a lot of confidence on the offensive end. I loved his post position that he got after an offensive rebound to get the dunk when he got 2 feet in the paint. And yes, we always stress that, really trying to hunt those. When we play in transition, I think we were 1.38 points per possession in transition the other day. That's a great sign. We need to get more of those opportunities. But I thought Jamarcus, the pace that he played with, our efficiency in the second half, we need to have 2 halves like that. Our second half offensive numbers have clearly been better than the first.
How is Jamarcus' ankle?
He's doing fine. Yep, he's doing good. He did a great job coming in for treatment. Yesterday was more of a mental day. We kind of kept the guys off their feet. We're out in the court for about an hour, but most of that was putting in the offensive and defensive game plan as far as what we're going to see. But he had no limitations in practice.
Jamarcus said after the game, this team is old but also battle tested. Just as a coach, I guess how alleviating is it when the game is tough and some of those older players are going to be able to pick each other up and you can kind of focus on the X's and O's?
Yeah, it's great when you have a group of guys that there's accountability between the players in the huddles, and there's nothing this year has been taken personal by the guys, whether it's Rink talking to Jamarcus or Sam talking to Rink or BK talking to Price. It doesn't matter. Those guys go out there and they've really bought into being a player-led team, coach-driven, player-led. That's what we talk about and our group has really bought into that. So, that it does make our job easier when you don't have to focus on, all right, those two guys, what's going on with them? There's a little inner battle going on between two of your guys out in the court. That happens a lot of times over the course of a long season, but we haven't had any of those incidents. So yes, we focus on the X's and O's. And again, Price came over and said, Coach, I think we can run this play. And I told him in the film session yesterday, if you guys see that in the court, you have to, great, run it. You see things that I don't see a lot of times when you're out there. And, it's just something where, you read based on, okay, Price has it going. Where is Price? Well, go find him. Go get him. And, we can't set up every single time down the floor. And, those are things that our guys are doing a good job of right now. And they're continuing to get better. That's where I think we can continue to grow as a team on both ends. I still think there's room for us to be better on both ends more consistently. And, we've been obviously found a way, but we're going to have to get better. We're going to have to continue to grow as a basketball team. And again, I'm confident because of the age, because of the experience, because of their mindset, mentality, that we'll continue to get better as a team.
Rink talk 2 years ago.
Rink talked a lot. He did. And, I think when you look at what he did a couple years ago as a leader on the court and what he's doing now with this group, how much we miss that voice in the huddles a year ago. And not like we had poor leadership last year. I mean, Juwan was phenomenal, what he did to grow. We missed Jamarcus a year ago as well. And, Bryce, he grew in that role a lot. But Rink he has a way of... He has a great presence to him, and because of how disciplined of a person he has the ultimate respect of everybody in that locker room. So, when he talks, you hear him in the huddles before the team goes out on the court, and the message that he gives to the team, he's a rock. He's a rock star in that role. And again, we really did miss that voice a year ago in that locker room.
How different is Oregon without Jackson Shelstead? We missed the last few games. Just a question for tomorrow night. I guess what impact is he making?
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly one of the most dynamic players in this league, and he's he can do it all. I mean, he's a blur, he's a jet in transition, he can shoot it. He's a really good passer. He's experienced. So yeah, he does a lot of things for this Oregon team.
How much of a factor could those bigger lineup spec Jared out there be tomorrow to match the size of it?
Yeah, everybody's going to have to be ready to go, and it's Oogie did not practice today. He's questionable. He's day to day, but we're gonna need some size and physicality out there on the floor, and that's the thing. I mean, we just need our guys to go out and play with force and continue to play with an edge. When we do that again, I really like the way this team battles, and we're a good basketball team when we play with that edge. When we don't, we're not very we're just not good enough.
Right ahead of the curve for a young player, just moving on to the next thing, like the 2 fouls he had, and he's had games where he didn't score, and then he has 20, that sort of thing.
Yeah, the way that he handled that adversity on the road in one of the great venues in college basketball to bounce back with the second half that he did, and really it was the last 11 minutes that he did all of his damage. And like I said, the thing that really got him going was that offensive rebound and putback, and then he hits the big step back 3 that put us up 9, and then makes the play, where he dunks on a guy 3 or 4 inches taller than him, and just ran back down the floor. I really like that. So yes, he's growing, and he's still a young player, but to go out and have that type of impact on the road as a freshman, the first year of eligibility for him has been really, really impressive.
Going back to the Shelstead injury, what have you seen from Wayland and how he kind of changes things?
Yeah, I mean he's a flat out laser, and that game at Rutgers, I know the last one he didn't shoot it as well against Ohio State, but when he gets his feet set, he's got unbelievable balance and pop and finish on his shot. I absolutely love his stroke. It's compact, and he's a guy that we got to have great awareness to wherever he is on the floor.
You talked about finding another gear on both ends of the floor. Is there an importance to finding that now as you sort of head into these final 2 months, and then obviously what you're going to be heading to?
Yeah, I mean we're searching for it. That's why we have our cleanups every game, win or lose. We go in there and we have a cleanup session. Some are longer than others, but there's still a lot of mistakes that we're making. Sometimes that ball sticks a little bit. We talk a lot about shots when they're not going in, continue to attack the paint And, I do think we've gotten better, but there's still room to grow. And yes, I mean, obviously the sooner the better, for our team.
Anything else for Coach?
Thanks, guys.